How do? Welcome to Liquid Football, and we're going to be getting straight into another podcast. Right, so England played just this weekend. We've only seen that for games so far against Iceland. Left that a bit close, didn't we? What do you reckon, guys?
It was going to be sloppy, wasn't it? I mean, people haven't played football for a while. I think a lot of the players, they've never played together, have they? A lot of them were new, being in the England camp, playing together, being in that scenario. It was probably a snooze fest. It was one of the worst games I've watched in a while.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched a lot of football recently, and that was just so boring until like the last 5 minutes. I don't know. We didn't look fluid at all. Although the game weren't fluid, it's not like Iceland out of nowhere were half decent. They looked completely off the pace as well, missing a few good players. Just a little bit surprising. I thought we'd definitely cause more of a problem. I can't remember too many moments where we're like, oh, we might actually score here. It felt after about the first 30 minutes that it was just going to be... It might have probably finished 0-0. It was surprising that we had such a crazy end to the game, because it could have ended up being 1-1 if they were, half decent at kicking the ball from a spot. But definitely lucky, but I suppose you need a bit of luck. And at the end of the day, this tournament and these games are about team cohesion and the lads playing together, new guys being in the England setup that haven't been in the England setup before. And yeah, I didn't read much into it anyway. It was just an excuse to watch some football, but it weren't good football.
It won't.
No, I mean, it answered our question though, didn't it? Who's going to play left back for England? Because it looked like Trippier were out there for a bit, didn't it?
We were there for all game, as far as I'm aware. But
yeah.
It was just
so
a case
that's
of
our question from last time. Cause on the last pod, I think we said who was going to play there. I mean, did he do a good enough job at left back?
I don't think anyone did a good job.
No. He were always wanting to get up to his right foot with Trippier. That's one thing I did notice, and that's where the balance. That's why you like to have left foot on left, right foot on right most of the time. I think anyway.
I don't know. I didn't particularly. Nobody stood out performance wise, and there weren't many players that I were like, oh, they were dreadful. I can't remember masses about the game because there weren't much about the game to remember, apart from really like Walker being sent off was just poor from him. He's been an England professional for a long time, so I mean it weren't the greatest situation and just a bit of a stupid tackle. But apart from that, there's no one really noteworthy. I mean, Joe Gomez gave away the penalty. It was a 50-50 one. Would it have been given with VAR? Would it not? I don't know. It was a little bit tight, but no one really performed well from either side. It was dull, very, very dull, and it's the only international game I watched all weekend. Full game. It was awful. I just wish I hadn't watched it, to be honest with you, and just checked my phone for the results. 80 minutes of just nothing. The only talking point really being the two penalties right at the end and the red card.
Goal disallowed, wasn't there, as well, early on, which was wrongfully disallowed in my eyes because
it was close, though, wasn't it?
It was close, but it didn't. Yeah,
there's penalty VAR, so it did look from first watch. It looked like it touched him, so it looked like it came off. I can't remember. Was it Sterling? Whoever was the man further forward before it went to Kane, did look like it come off him. That was my initial thought. I didn't think there was an issue with the offside.
And it's like with penalty as well. I thought that might have been seen as outside the area where the foul began.
I thought we were a bit tight. Both penalties were a bit...
Yeah. I mean, I think ours shouldn't have been a penalty.
I
in
was
my
a
opinion.
bit 50-50 with it. I think with VAR, we might have seen a different game.
And he got sent off as well, didn't he? Did the defender? I mean, that was shocking.
He did get sent off for it. And I'm not... Yeah, I thought both penalties were a bit... I can see why they were given, but they were the reffing were a bit suspect, wasn't it, for the entire game? But, I mean, that was the refs made the game exciting because without those penalties and the red card and the offside to talk about, nothing else happened in the game. So the refs kind of made it more interesting.
I just remember us having quite a lot of the ball, not being able to do much with it. It had shades of Leeds against Wigan last season.
78% possession.
So, I mean, we had a lot of ball, we just couldn't break them down. And it was just...
We weren't dynamic going forward at all.
No,
we weren't. Sancho looked good with a couple of good long ball passes, but then there weren't enough players in the box, and the link-up play just weren't there. And when you're trying to play that style of football, it's inch-perfect passing. It's those finer margins, and just weren't on it at all. Especially in the final third, it was really poor to watch. Like it was cool, pass it around. Oh, you all right then? Pass it to you. Yeah, kick it to you. Then in the final third, it was just like, what do I do with the ball now? And it just weren't good fun. It weren't pleasant, were it? It weren't pleasant to watch. If you didn't watch it, go and watch the 1 minute highlight package. You'll enjoy it.
And what about the rest of the home nations then? Because obviously, at this point, Scotland have drawn with Israel. Republic of Ireland have just lost to Finland. I forget who they played before that, and Wales have just beaten Bulgaria. Any thoughts
Northern
on
Ireland
them?
drew. Northern Ireland drew and had a man sent off. And I think Northern Ireland are probably the one home nation that just consistently overperforms.
Yeah.
And if you're Scottish, that's got to be devastating. Because you're apparently really good because you've got good players but can't play well. So it's Northern Ireland. You look at half the players that League One. Some of them aren't even Championship quality players, and they always perform as a unit and well as a team. Man sent off, and they end up getting that draw in the end. Should Scotland beat Israel? If on paper,
yeah.
Should Scotland beat Israel? And I would have said yeah. And again, it just I don't see them changing. I feel a little bit sorry for Scotland because at least like Wales and Ireland, they've made it to some major competitions. And when was the last time Scotland made it?
98, I believe.
It's got to be drab being a Scottish football fan, especially when you think about, if you do think about it, there is talent there.
Yeah.
They just can't play. I think maybe. I tend to think that they always tend to go for like Scottish managers. Maybe they should go for a foreign influence for once. It might be sacrilege if you're a Scottish fan, but the tried and trusted and the managers now that you keep bringing in aren't top tier managers from my knowledge. They're not top of the pack, and they're certainly not doing well with Scotland. And they just keep repeating the same. It's the same theme. Every manager has the same scenario. And qualification always looks really terrible for them. I know this tournament don't mean that much, does it? But you'd like to see them win some stuff. And I just thought, when it was a draw, it weren't a surprise, which is a bit of a sad thing.
I mean, they've had bad results. It passed at the Kazakhstan, rings a bell, 3-0 loss. Israel probably, I'd argue, are better than Kazakhstan, but not by much, but it's just that it's a harsh reality. I mean, I'm not entirely sure of the world rankings at the minute, but I know that they've been down there of Scotland, the bit lowest of the home nations for quite some time. So, but in terms of the other other things, you what? Sorry,
the way they play.
Yeah.
Like you watch, like I said with Northern Ireland, they're a tight knit group. They're compact. You know they're going to be hard from set pieces to deal with, and they play to their strengths. I don't know what Scotland are good at. With the way they play, I don't have a clue what they're good at, but I know they've got a lot of good, well, at least decent level players, better than the Northern Ireland squad and probably the Republic of Ireland squad and the Wales squad, you would most likely say, minus Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
But that's one player. And I just think, how can someone not get them playing well? It's got to be the choice of management, because Scotland keeps producing fairly decent players. You know, you've got Andy Robertson in there. You've got some good players, some good quality players. And they've had them over the years as well and just can't seem to play well. They always play badly when I watch them.
Yeah.
Another thing is, can you actually go on the men's rankings? You know, the rankings for the teams internationally. I still don't believe that some of them are right. I mean, you've got Belgium as the top-ranked team in the world. Not in my eyes. You know, I mean, I was just looking then. Scotland are ranked 50th in the world. So you'd think they'd be able to beat Israel quite comfortably, but you've got Iran 33rd. I just don't know about the rankings. I don't know if you can look at each team and look
Iran.
at the rankings.
It's a funny one with Iran because it's in their own competitions, and because they do well, that goes for them as well. Which I think obviously it's not a true reflection. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's hard to look. Yeah, I think it's hard to look at these. I mean, you've got us down as fourth best in the world behind France and Belgium and Brazil, which not in my books. You know
potential.
What I mean?
We've got potential at the minute.
The problem is we were the fourth best in the world because we made it to the semis of the World Cup.
So why is Belgium number one then and not France?
Belgium's a weird one Belgium's a weird one. I don't understand. I've got to imagine that there's got to be some level of producing players that's calculated in it, because Belgium have been number one for a while now.
Yeah, they have.
I know they did well at the World Cup. Don't get me wrong, they did well. They had a good time.
They got third, didn't they? Beat us.
And they played some really good football.
Yeah.
I mean, Germany are 15th in the rankings.
But that doesn't surprise me.
They had a poor World Cup, didn't they?
They have past two tournaments have been poor, and so has Spain.
Mm.
And so have
Portugal
Italy. Italy didn't even make it.
Italy are 13th in world. Holland are 14th. Portugal 7th. Spain 8th. Argentina
And
9th.
Holland didn't make it.
So,
Holland didn't make it, and neither did Italy.
Mm. So that obviously goes against them as well. And I mean, there might be, like you say, it's not a true reflection.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you still think Scotland should be beating Israel. And
Yeah.
especially at home. I mean, I know that obviously there's no fans or anything at the minute, but even so, you still expect to beat teams on your own patch.
Israel-
To be like Republic of Ireland against Finland today. They were at home. They should be beating Finland on paper.
Israel are 93rd in world, if you're going to look
There
at
you
it
go.
that way. So.
That's quite a gulf.
It's on
Yeah.
paper as well, though, isn't it? When you look at the Scottish squad on paper compared
Oh,
to the Israel squad, you just think, what's going on here, boys?
Who's the last Israeli player you can think of that was any good? And the last one I can think of is Benny Youn, and he's been retired probably 5 years, something like that.
Rama?
Ben Wright, is he Israeli?
He might
I
be
thought he was Moroccan.
Yeah, he might be Moroccan. Yeah, I would have said Yossi Benayoun. Good shout as well, Matt.
Yeah, I remember
imagine
Ben
those-
Haim as well, but that were a bit before.
Well, there probably is one or two players that you might have heard of.
Mm.
Probably more because of obscure knowledge of football through like a football manager or something like that. Probably wouldn't know him because you've watched them actually play football. But yeah, you're right. It's the same as any team that tends to play against them, whether it be, and they're usually smaller teams, and they just keep upsets against Scotland. Seems
like
to be a constant theme.
You could potentially see Scotland not even win a game in that group.
Who else
I
is it
don't think
group?
they'll beat Czech Republic,
Yeah.
And Slovakia.
Mm,
Slovakia are no mugs.
I'd agree with that.
No, I can. If there was one game you would have said they'd win, it was the Israel game.
Israel game, yeah.
The other two games are very difficult. But I also think if Scotland played well, they could beat them.
Yeah.
We
on the
should
day.
be thinking Scotland could beat them on the day, but I don't know if it's a mentality thing, but because Scotland are certainly producing players, they just can't seem to do it. I think it's management. I don't rate many Scottish managers.
I don't for one, and I'm not saying this in any way, but I don't for one believe that any player at this moment in time is interested in international football. I don't believe any player is actually thinking, yes, I'm playing for England this weekend. Yes, I'm playing for France. At all. I think their mind is fully focused, especially
I think there'll be some players.
I think it depends on the tournament. I think probably this tournament you might have an issue. Some players might be, but I know that, like, for instance, we touched on him earlier, Kyle Walker, he got recalled to this team. This was his first game since getting dropped, and he was speaking how much he was buzzing because he wanted to get back in the England team because he learnt his lessons the hard way by that he had that lockdown dispute thing where he got a bit of a bollocking for, but he was saying how proud he is. Look at like Calvin Phillips' reaction. I know it's your debut, your first play. Grealish as well, yeah.
Will have been happy. Tyrone Mings, like a lot of players in that squad will have been really happy that they got called up and want to play. I think that'll be the case for a lot of teams. I think when you look at some teams, Portugal looked like they wanted to be playing. They played really well. Spain and Germany was a great open game. I don't know how they weren't more. All the players seem to turn up and want. I disagree a little bit with that. I imagine. I don't know. I think that's an age-old thing.
It's not in my opinion. I just think that
playing football.
Yeah, I just think a lot of them are more, especially. I mean, you can look at people that have spoken out about it, like Stuart Dallas has said, "Why am I doing an international game when I've got Liverpool away in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks?" It's for me. I don't agree with.
But that's just situational, isn't it? Because of what's happened with coronavirus and that, and it wouldn't normally be the case. We'd already be halfway through a season, wouldn't we?
Dallas and Phillip are teammates, and I can guarantee Phillips was over the moon to be called up and happy to be there and didn't care that he was playing Liverpool in a week's time. He's thinking, I'm in the England team.
Yeah, but I think
Dallas probably doesn't feel that way because he plays for a team that's not that good.
I think if you ask Calvin Phillips in 10 years' time, And I think he might be the same because being called up for your first call up, fair enough. You're going to be buzzing. You're going to be thinking, yes, I'd be happy to sit on the bench and watch the game from the bench on my first particular call up for England. But I think when you've somebody like Dallas who's been playing international football for that long, I think he's, some of these older international footballers, should I say, then I think they're more interested in just doing what they have to do for a club.
It's going to be more like the first team players. If anyone's going to have any issues, it's going to be, like I said, the first team players. But at the end of the day, I think when it comes to tournament time, like proper tournament, like Euros or, I think they are going to be bothered because they want to be on the plane. You can't tell me that they'd rather stay at home than go to a World Cup.
No.
Yeah, no. I completely agree with the World Cup and Euros.
Yeah.
However, this particular competition, and in my opinion, another waste of time in my book. I'm not a massive international fan as it is, but for me, I believe this could have been put back a bit to allow teams up and down the country to get ready for a season that they're not ready for.
It couldn't be put back.
Why?
Because they're on a tight schedule because you've got 2 years until the next Euros. So this tournament needs to be played now because you win a place at the Euros.
All right. See, that's how much about the international.
They made this tournament so that you could make, instead of the friendlies, you could make it a competitive style. So teams got more competitive games, and there was a result at the end where if you win the playoffs, you get your qualification. That's why they made this nations.
It's a bit make it so like competitive friendlies, if you will, but there's something to play for.
You actually gain something, but they have to be being played now, or else you've got the Euros in 2 years' time to start getting ready for this. So that's why they're being forced to be played.
COVID's made a right mess of it, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
It has, unfortunately,
yeah.
It's hopefully we'll get sorted eventually, and it'll be like a one-off. This season it won't have to affect anything again.
Well,
but obviously, it's up in air quite literally at the minute, isn't it? So
you've got wall-to-wall football now because we come straight out of the season into the Euros.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. For 2 years as well, because then it'll be World Cup after all the World Cups in the winter, innit? So
winter.
So I mean, obviously, I don't know too much about the other home nations, but obviously we touched on the England's selections afterwards after a couple of dropouts. Rashford and who else dropped out? Winks dropped out through injury. So obviously, Grealish eventually got his call up, much to Daz's chagrin.
Well,
what do you think? Maitland-Niles as well.
Call-ups were a bit strange. He obviously values Maitland-Niles then as a centre mid, not as a right or left back, which is fine. But at club level, I've seen him play a lot at right back. I think it is. And then obviously Grealish came in for Rashford. That makes sense. That kind of replacement. It's great, but I didn't expect either of them to touch a football. So I mean, the call-ups don't really mean much to me. I was surprised to see Foden start. Fair play. It shows that he's probably going to look to use Foden more often, but I didn't expect Grealish to get a game of football, for being honest with you. I know some people said, I'm surprised you didn't bring Grealish on. And I was like, what? Well, why? Why are you surprised? You didn't call him up in first place. You called him up for injury.
Exactly.
And maybe a bit of pressure, but he obviously didn't favour him. So in that scenario, he weren't going to go, yeah, this is your time, Grealish. He was just like, enjoy your seat on bench. I didn't expect Phillips to play. I expected maybe if we got a win in this game, we might get some football in the next game. And this is 2 games, so you can rotate and try different players. I don't envisage him using the same squad in the next game. I think he'll change a lot around because he wants to see how different players play, which makes 100% sense, really, when you think about it. But yeah, I weren't expect. Maybe in the next game you might see a bit of Grealish, but he weren't first choice in the first place to even be in the squad. So when you come in for an injury, like, the expectation that he's going to see much minutes is low.
Yeah, like you say, it's same obviously with Phillips. I thought if we'd have been like 2 or 3 goals good 10 minutes ago, I thought potentially we might have seen Phillips make his debut. But like I said, we ended up watching such a dire game. So, but you said about nearly falling asleep. I actually genuinely nearly fell asleep. It was that bad. But I was holding out hope that Phillips were going to come on, but it never happened. But anyway,
I probably would have fallen asleep had I been at home.
Yeah, you were out and about, weren't you? So, I
think if Phillips does come on, it's this next game. I think if the Grealish fan club want to see Grealish, I think they'll be looking towards this next.
He might start him. Foden was a surprise to start. He's going to use these games to look at new players. So there is a potential that he might give him 45 minutes. He might start, and you don't know.
Good idea.
He wants to see different players, doesn't he? And the best part about it is the first set of players that played didn't really show him much.
Exactly.
Did they? So, there's probably a higher chance. I'm not saying he will start him, but usually from what I've seen from Southgate is when he's bringing a bunch of different players, you're being brought to play, and you probably are going to play some minutes. It just depends when. I imagine that the team will probably be a bit different in the second game. England don't value this tournament as much because we'll get qualified through the actual qualification process.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
It's better for the smaller teams that struggle to get qualification, not for a team like England. So he's probably going to see this more as experimentation, and the squad kind of does that.
That's my point, that they don't
Value
treat it like it should be, because for them, I think they're in their heads. They may be thinking, they may not be, may just be where I think, but they may be thinking, look, we're going to qualify anyway. We'll just take this as a bit of a.
No, the players that he's brought are trying to make sure that they're going to be a part of the England squad.
They didn't do a good job of it, or they did.
No, they didn't. They didn't. But that's the point of this tournament: is he might experiment more because the tournament there isn't as much on the line for England. But the experimentation should bring new players coming, and they should be hungry to show that they want to be part of the England setup. So
Grealish and Phillips, yeah, no, I agree with that. Grealish, Phillips, people like that want to show their worth, Mason Mount and all that.
Southgate will not take someone if he doesn't like. He's proven that already. If he doesn't think you're doing well and you're not playing well, you won't get picked.
I think
it's better for them. I think for the more senior side of it, I don't think it.
I think for me, showing out how important this tournament is. Look at Germany. They rested so many players because they were in Champions League final and stuff like that. So if it was that important, would they not still played? I know they got to give them some rest. Did you have a choice?
The same as like PSG started the season 2 weeks later.
Right.
In France.
Right.
And the same like Man United aren't playing the first game of the season because of how far they got.
I mean, just looking at Germany's lineup tonight, they've got quite a good, strong side out, to be fair.
Germany's team was very strong.
Yeah.
It's still strong, wasn't it? Right? Even though like a second string, it was still strong.
Played, Leroy Sané played. They had a really strong squad out when you think about it. And the players, I can't remember what the ruling is, but the reason why they're not playing is the players have to have so long of a holiday because it's the end of the season. So that's why games have been pushed back in leagues as well. That's why, like I say, Man United aren't playing first game of the season.
Yeah, they don't play first week, do they?
What's because they got semis. They got to Europa League. Man United. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Semis. Man City would have been the same if they'd have made it to semis. Have to have a certain period of time in between to have a holiday. So the players actually got to go off and go on holiday instead of straight back in training.
Yeah. So I mean, looking into obviously Premier League based here at the minute, talking about the teams from there. There's been quite a few transfers. Has there been any shocks at all for you?
I'm just excited that next week at 5 o'clock on Saturday, we'll be watching Leeds United play Liverpool in the Premiership after 16 years.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Premiership to be back. Let's be honest. I'm excited for football to be back. I know it's not even been long, but it's just enjoyable. It gives you weekend purpose, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? I've got something to do on a weekend. I'm going to watch this, and this is going to be on, and it's just an exciting feeling. I think everyone's got that now, and the transfers have been so crazy. Like, that oil money is good at Chelsea, man. They have got that good Russian oligarch oil money because it's working a treat. I did not expect them to have a window like that. I thought they'd spend a bit, but it's nuts how much they have spent and the players that they have picked. It's just like collecting Ultimate Team cards there at Chelsea. It's insane. I love it. I think it's great. People are like, oh, it ruins football. But I think it's brilliant.
I think I might have to change my predictions when it comes around to it, because the way Chelsea are building a team at the moment, if Lampard can get them all playing the right way, they're in with a shot of being top two.
I still think they're definitely going to be in there with a chance.
I think they're a season out. Because they've got a gel, haven't they? Some young players there as well. They've got to find the feet and find the groove. But yeah, they wow.
So
Wow,
exciting.
if you're a fan of like Man United and maybe Spurs have been more
Tottenham.
calculated than spend a load of money, which
Mm.
you could argue. Maybe they're not looking at this year and going, we want to win stuff instantly. But when you look at Man United, and this is nothing against them, and then you look at Chelsea and what they're doing, you got to be thinking, hang on a minute, what are we doing here? I mean, Van der Beek, brilliant player, love him, fantastic. Don't need him. Don't need him. Don't need him.
Don't need him.
Why aren't you signing positions? When I speak to a lot of Man United fans, the thing that shocks me is they don't think that they need a striker, and they don't think Lukaku was good. His goal-scoring record for Inter Milan says differently. And also, you definitely need a striker. For me, the only striker in that team right now, out-and-out striker, is Ighalo. Greenwood, we don't know if he'll play wide or if he'll play up top, and he's still 17. He's not going to play all 38 Premiership season games, and if he does, it's a mistake. You shouldn't be putting that pressure on him this early. I like the way they've managed him so far. I think it's brilliant, and he's looked fantastic when he's played. I don't want him to get overhyped. I don't want him to play too much. I don't want another English dud, but they need to figure out what they're doing with the transfer window. Van der Beek, I think, is a brilliant player. Great. Cool rotation. Not a bad signing because he's a great player. But where's the rest of the team? You know, the positions you need? Someone said to me, oh, yeah, Pogba, Fernandes and Van der Beek, they'll play together. I was like, what? It's not FIFA, mate. It's, what do you mean they'll play together? So what are you going to do? Just have fucking 8 men in attack? Who's defending? Who's defending there? Like, you need... There's a reason why it worked well last year, because Fred allowed a player like Bruno Fernandes to do whatever he wanted because Fred was going to be there, the engine room, and he looked fantastic once Bruno got there. He looked like the Fred that people wanted before. And that's what they've needed for so long. He can go do that, be the workhorse, and Bruno makes him look good, and he makes Bruno look good, and that's a great partnership. Donny is similar to a Bruno. He wants to go forward. He's good on the ball. He's a decent passer. He's going to look to move forward, shots from outside the box. He's not the answer, although I think he's great. He's not the answer that they need, and I don't see him starting ahead of Pogba or Fernandes, which would be worrying for me as a fan of Van der Beek. That's what worries me.
Do you not think that, obviously, strength and depth that they're getting there for that position, maybe they've got some other irons in the fire for other positions, maybe? Because, I mean, you said about strikers, I think Martial got like 23 goals last season, from what I read. I don't know how many others he got in Europe.
Didn't play out wide.
Well, he does a bit of both, doesn't he? He's either like an inside forward or plays up top on his own.
But if you say he got 23 goals, which could be a fair comment, but I bet if you look over the games and in the competitions he scored in, it's not that great of a return. And I can remember several, just in the European semi-final, opportunities he's missed. He's not.
Oh, he misses chances, but I mean, remember, I know it's completely.
How many goals did Bruno Fernandes get from midfield?
Penalties.
In the short, it doesn't matter if it's penalties.
He got about 8 penalties, didn't he? Something like that. I think he got double figures or something. I think about 8 of them were pens. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's a legitimate. Yeah, he might have, but I don't know if that's a legitimate comment because I think he got a lot of penalties. It was well documented.
If he got a lot of penalties, that's something Martial ain't got a chance of scoring from. So it's kind of.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose if he'd have taken the penalties, he might have got over 30 goals.
20. So he got what? 23 goals.
That's what I read. I'm led to believe he definitely were in the 20s. I mean, look. Obviously, you're playing for Man United, aren't you? And as much as it pains us, it's not. You remember when it was Dwight York and Andy Cole? They got didn't they get like 20 goals each? Alone.
I think your argument would be is if Martial scored 17, which isn't dreadful. What's the rest of the forward line scored? Then that's when you start racking up your problem. If he scores 17 and then he's got Rashford next to him who scores 17 and he's got Greenwood who scores 17, then you don't have an issue. You ain't got a problem there. A little bit like a Liverpool. It's kind of like one season Mane is going to bag more goals. One season Salah's going to be. Between the three, you're going to get goals.
Yeah.
I don't think like that with Man United. I don't think, and I definitely don't see Martial as an out-and-out striker.
Rashford got 17 goals last year.
So you got Rashford with 17. You got Martial with 17.
I think Greenwood got about 12 or something.
Greenwood scored a lot more.
He got quite a lot in after lockdown.
10 goals.
Europa League. Is that in the Premiership?
Not Premier League.
5 in Europa League, 1 in EFL Cup, 1 in International none in International Champions, 1 in FA Cup, 1 in the Premier League 2 Division 2, and 1 in the EFL
So
Trophy.
he only scored 1 in the Premier League.
So he only got 1 goal in the Premier League. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
that's
I could have sworn he got 2 against Bournemouth or something.
No, he did better again in Europe. He scored quite a few in Europa League. I remember that.
Oh,
So you've got. So you might say Rashford and Martial on 17, but then you got Greenwood on 1. Is 17 between your 2 strikers for the season enough? I would disagree.
What, 17 each? So 34 between 2 strikers. Is that what you're meaning? Yeah, sorry.
You've got Aubameyang. What did Aubameyang's final total? Was it 25, 26?
25 or something, yeah. I think he won it, didn't he? I think.
That's 1 player.
So he won it joint with Vardy and someone else, didn't he? I think, if I remember rightly, actually, the Golden Boot.
Vardy and Mane, was it?
Might
They
well
didn't
be.
even come in top 3 neither.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I suppose when you put it like that, but you still think it's still like it's a decent return, but it's not title winning return. That's what it is.
Great conversion rate either.
Yeah.
You don't have a figurehead up top. I thought Martial missed 3 chances in the semi-final in Europe, and Rashford missed 2, and they weren't even hard chances.
Yeah,
Whereas
everyone misses chances, don't they? Look at
Sterling
missing, didn't he?
How many strikers do you have where you can near enough nail on 9 out of 10 times in that position he's going to score? There's been tons of strikers at Salah. If he gets clean through, 9 times out of 10, you know he's going to put it in. Kane, he gets that chance. Lukaku used to be a player like that. Aubameyang is exactly the same. You know, if he gets a chance clean through, it's probably going in the back of the net. Man United, as a team that want to be challenging for the league, don't have that.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
So,
and what would worry me is, and I don't know the ins and outs, is how many of the goals they've scored were game winners, or how many of them were actually in a game that they dominated and they scored a couple of goals. I've seen Martial on his day be unbelievable, and then go missing for 5 games. You can't. I
think that's because when they were younger, though, because obviously you get that from young players, don't you? Generally speaking.
Well, no, he's had enough seasons now, hasn't he? 145 Premier League appearances. He's got 51 goals.
1 in 3.
145 Premier League appearances.
1 in 3 is not terrible. Like you say, it's not quite title winning, is it?
It's for a top striker for a title winning team. It's not good enough, is it? Really, he's the type of player that sometimes is good, and then sometimes he's really bad, and there's no in between for him, which is what's really weird.
Yeah.
And like in the big moments when you need someone to get you a goal, like the semi-final, he doesn't do it. And that's always been an issue with Martial. I really like Martial, but that's always been an issue with him. And it's always been an issue with Rashford.
Big game.
He doesn't convert enough. Sometimes he's brilliant. Rashford will get 2 or 3 goals and you think, Rashford's brilliant. And then for 3 or 4 games in a row, he won't get old. How many goals did Aubameyang score that were important to Arsenal winning? When you needed him to do it, he did it. The same with Mane. And I just feel like if you're going to be one of the top tier teams in the league, you need a top tier striker, a proper front man. I don't think they have that.
So
I don't think they have that.
Who would you say is available then for that then? Who would you say is realistic? Because I know a lot of people say Harry Kane, but Suarez, yeah, but they wouldn't have him after what happened with Evra.
Well, that's your problem, isn't it? You've got situations where a player like him you probably wouldn't have, but there are players out there that are like him. That Immobile, top goal scorer in the world.
Right.
Your Man United is at Lazio. Your Man United is at Lazio. Go and get Immobile. Go and pay 80 million for him. He scored more goals than anybody else this season.
Yeah.
He'd be a Man United signing, but they won't go and make that signing.
Higuain would be a signing for him.
Yeah.
Higuain would worry me because of his time at Chelsea.
Yeah, he wasn't that great at Chelsea.
He wasn't very good in the Premiership.
I think
that would be what worried me.
But the thing is, then you're thinking of short-term solutions, aren't you? Like, you know, if you're thinking older players like Suarez and Higuain, it's not a long-term solution. It's like when they got Zlatan in, but they're not on his level.
They don't need long-term solutions. They've got Greenwood. They're not looking for long-term. They're looking to win now. You're looking to win now. You go and sign the best players. You're not going out there and signing the kids. They should be signing the top-level players. You're looking for a solution of who can we bring in now that's going to make an impact, help us win games, and be Man United that win stuff?
Do you think the fact that Solskjaer's in charge hinders the chances of getting the top players?
No.
You don't at all?
You're Man United. If you are who you say you are, you're Man United, you can convince anyone. And you have that kind of pulling power. It shouldn't. I mean, you've seen a team like Chelsea go out and get Werner and Havertz. Like, they're offensive players that could play up top. But Man United weren't even rumoured with them.
Mm.
Man United haven't really been rumoured with a single... The big player they're rumoured with is Sancho.
Mm.
He's fine. It's all well and good. You can go and spend a load of money on Sancho. I completely get it. I don't think they'll get him now, but they might. You never know. There's a long way to go. But then who is their striker?
So
I'd like to know who their striker is.
Mm.
Is it Rashford? Is it Martial?
I think it depends. I wouldn't be surprised if they did get Sancho. I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually Rashford. Because I've just got a feel. I know he's played a lot on the left hand side, but he came through as a striker, didn't he? If I remember right.
Yeah, but his problem is he came through as a striker and he didn't score enough.
Yeah, but now he's older and he's got more experience. Maybe
he's probably still not converting to a top tier level.
Mm.
Or else he'd be an out and out striker. He'd be playing at striker for England. People won't keep picking him on the left.
Yeah.
If he could prove that he could finish those clear cut chances. This is the problem. Like, his end goal tally might be okay, and the same with Martial's, but there's a reason why when people watch them, they think, well, you shouldn't be missing them. And I've seen Rashford go clean through and miss quite a few times. I don't know if it's a mental thing with him, but I've seen him score some brilliant stuff.
Mm.
But the way they play, they need a focal point. They don't play like a Leeds or a Liverpool where your striker isn't there to score that many goals, he's there to link up play.
Mm.
They play with as if they're going to put balls through and in behind, and you need someone who's going to ghost in behind and score at least, 20, 22, 23, 24 goals. Be up there challenging with the top strikers in the league.
Yeah.
And they don't have anyone anywhere near, really, at the moment. And that's not going to change by the looks of it.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on Chelsea there. I mean, I don't know how Lampard is like it kind of puts my argument to shame, really, when I'm saying about Solskjaer being a manager not being able to get someone. But then again, is it because Lampard was so respected? Well, I mean, I know obviously there's money as well, and a lot of people say that, but Lampard is highly respected in the football world because of his footballing achievements as a player. But obviously they signed Havertz, on the Kai Havertz. I think it's 190 million or thereabouts, 187 million that they've spent so far. Can you see them spending any more?
Yeah, I can.
What areas?
I can see them probably spending on a centre back, maybe a left back as well, and maybe a goalkeeper.
We've got Chilwell, aren't they, left back? So.
Oh yeah, they got Chilwell. So maybe just a centre back and a goalkeeper. I can still see them spending though, which is worrying. The thing is Lampard is probably nothing on Solskjaer applauded more than him and more highly rated. And a player like Kai Havertz probably watched Lampard quite a bit and was impressed with him when he was younger. He's a big central midfielder. He's a big name. He did it on a bigger stage. I remember Solskjaer coming off the bench and scoring some great goals, didn't he? But I don't think he holds the same weight that Lampard does. But I mean, there's no doubt at the end of the day who's making the deals at Chelsea, and it's the board. Lampard is a coach. Let's be honest. He's not a manager. He's a coach.
Yeah.
That's the way he's seen. And this is just this is Chelsea making Chelsea signings. We've seen this before. They've done this before, and they won the league. They've done this with Mourinho. They're just doing this now with Lampard, and good bits of business, in my opinion. The players they're signing are young, good, fresh players. Going to bring that insight. They're going down a good route with it. But it's no surprise that Chelsea are going down that route. Whereas I think when you look at Man United, there's no doubt about it as to their ownership and director of football hasn't been held in great graces, has he, in the players they've managed to bring into the club and some of the money they've spent. We have to remember they've spent ridiculous money of Man United, and one of them's just gone away basically ripping up the contract and getting fuck all for him. Another one sold because he's lazy and can't score a goal, and then went and had like a 30-goal season at another club that ended up going further than you in a cup competition. There's what's going on at Man United. They're not Man United anymore. They're just not. And they're not signing players that make you think, that they're Man United. Fergie did well because he did really well with not that much. He was very good at bringing in players and spotting players, and sometimes they won the league, and I thought, how what magic fucking lamp does he have with his 15 million wishes to manage to win the league or a cup with the squad he had?
Well, that was when they got Van Persie, innit? They only got Van
the
Persie, and
last
that
time he
team
won
was shite, wasn't it, really?
They were rubbish.
But they got Van Persie, and he won basically... He was the goal scorer, wasn't he? Like you said, the top striker that you need to get goals.
Well, Ferguson managed to turn water into wine when it came to Man United. And then no one's been able to do that since, and they've chucked a load of money at it. And they got very lucky, let's remember, because they had probably which will probably go down in history as one of the best sets of youth generations that have come through in one club. They got really blessed with that. When you think about the Premiership appearances between the class of whatever fucking year it was, when
92.
you think about the Premiership appearances between that group of players, it's hard push to ever see anything like that again from one club. And, you know, that all goes hand in hand. Man United don't have that anymore, and they're throwing money at it, but I don't see them doing good bits of business. The best bit of business they've done is Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
Donny might be another good bit of business, but the rest of it, you look at it, and it's not been fantastic.
You know, any thoughts on what's been said, Daz?
Completely agree. They're not a team that are feared anymore in my book. I don't think anyone looks at it and goes, "Oh, you know, Man United are in town on Saturday. We're going to have to shut up shop. We'll probably get beat." I think people look at it now if we can have a go at these, and they are making good signings. All like that. I mean, Van der Beek's a fantastic player. I do like him. Hopefully they use him at Man United. He doesn't just become a bench player. But yeah, I mean, that Angel Gomez, didn't the Man United? I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He was one of the next whiz kids. He was, you know, this big thing, you know. I know a few Man United fans that were like, "Oh, you want to see this whiz kid with Bart Angel Gomez? He's going to be one of the next big things." Yeah, released him this year, so...
They want. Oh, yeah, the young lad. Yeah, sorry, yeah. I'll get him... Angel Di Maria. I'll get him mixed up with him.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. He were there, but I was thinking like... It was like
Angel
a player
Gomez.
that ruined, yeah. But yeah, Angel Gomez, yeah.
The player that they said was going to be one of the best players to grace the Premier League.
Do we know where he went?
I've no idea, mate. I've no idea. I can find out that. But, he got released not so long, but I do remember.
Now you've said it, I do remember seeing it and thinking, God, they're releasing him. I remember when he was meant to be shit up.
It's gone to Lille.
First team.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Released him on a free.
He's got to where, mate?
Angel Gomez stands for Lille after leaving Manchester United.
Well, it's a decent team, though, isn't it, to go to, supposed to learn a bit more of your trade.
All that shows me is how stupid Man United are. Did Man United release him, or did he want to go?
No, Man United.
That would be my question. If Lille have picked him up, I can near enough see that in 3 or 4 years' time, someone will buy him in Premiership for 60, 70 million.
A bit similar to what you might think might happen with Dutch lad that used to play for Man United. Is it Leon? What's he called? What's he called? Depay. There we go. Yeah.
He was a PSG academy player who looked brilliant, and that's why Man United signed him.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't get a tune out of him. Everyone knew he was a great player because of what he did at PSV, and he still did all right for the Dutch team. Couldn't do all at Man United, didn't get the game time, didn't settle, went to Lyon, did brilliant, as people expected him to do because he was a brilliant player. But we've seen players like Kevin De Bruyne not liked, not good in the academy, blah, blah, blah. One of the best players in the league now, one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
Man United with Pogba, he came back. It would not surprise me. He's gone to Lille, so he's obviously people think he's got talent. Lille are a top tier team in France.
He's been loaned out to Boavista straight away. So he's gone to Lille and they've loaned him out.
Portuguese, isn't he, I think, if I remember rightly.
17, 18?
Something like that. About 18, 19, something like that. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, he's Portuguese.
So there you go.
So he's going back home.
Lille have obviously got an interest in him. So it just wouldn't surprise me if he turned around to be good. People don't laud someone and then they end up being absolutely crap unless there's a reason behind it, like a Ravel Morrison who's got an absolutely horrendous attitude. So people don't say how good they are. I think they had Queener as well, who now plays for West Ham. I think he was one of their academy players. And again, they just let him go. And who knows? Quinn might not be great for West Ham, but he might end up being good. But it just goes to show that maybe they don't give academy players the opportunity that they should. I can't. Who's the last academy player that were good?
Well,
Take away Rashford.
You've got Rashford and obviously Greenwood coming through now. Then you got McTominay, but McTominay's I don't know.
He's a part player. He's not.
Yeah, he's not like a first team regular, is he?
It's like the highly rate that Tati Chong, is it
Tati Chong? Yeah,
Tati Chong.
There's a few players, but they either got on loan or they're just playing cup games at the minute. But you can't put them all at the same time. Like say if they're trying to put in Greenwood, he's going to be the focus, isn't he? Got that Brandon Williams, isn't there, that comes in at left back? I think sometimes.
Williams actually has been impressive, so maybe he's one for the future.
But you can't do too many, you see. So maybe they've just got too many people for too few positions, if that makes sense. Especially with them bringing Van der Beek in as well.
No, it depends on the quality of player. You can do as many as you want if the players are good enough.
Yeah.
I don't think the academy is what it used to be.
Yeah, fair enough.
I want to say, but top tier football, it's not as I would say. Chelsea's has been fairly decent recently, but they've
had to rely on it, haven't they? That's why. So you've probably been able to see a bit more of it recently.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we've been blessed to see quite a lot of it in the Championship as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of those players, whether it be Tomori or Mason Mount or Tammy Abraham, we've seen play in the Championship, and you knew they were great players.
Yeah.
Because they looked like stars in the Championship, and usually when you're a star in the Championship, you're a decent player.
Decent player, yeah. One player who did go out on loan actually. Nice little segue that. He was at West Brom last season. He signed permanently. Grady Diangana. He's caused a bit of a stir. Well, not him directly. West Ham more directly. They've sold him. They're not happy, are they? No more than Mark Noble, the captain. Don't want to sell on it then, Daz, no?
I ain't got a clue what you're on about.
But you don't need to know. You know that he's not happy about it. He's basically, he said he's angry with the decision. So you just say, what does that mean to you that a captain of your club has come out publicly on social media and said that?
Not happy, is he?
Oh, no. Fucking hell, man.
It's not something I've read up on about.
You don't need to. I've literally
all right.
All I've seen is what I've just told you, and I've made an opinion. I've got an opinion based on that.
And I'm going to base my opinion on what he's just said.
Well, if your captain's not happy at a club, then there's something seriously wrong, isn't there?
There you go. We'll fucking run with that one.
There you go. Run with that.
I just did. I thought we were rolling.
Well, do it again. Do it again.
Right, hang on. So what did you say?
I said, they're not happy. Most notably, Mark Noble coming out on social media and saying he's angry.
Of course, I mean, if you're selling what he classes as one of the best players as a captain of the club, and your captain's not happy, yeah, there's something seriously wrong at West Ham. And I would imagine my predictions for West Ham are they're in for a very, very tough and long season, and it's not a great start for them, really.
No, it's going to be a rough ride, isn't it? I think this just doesn't help, does it? It just doesn't. Keeping the peace is probably the biggest thing you want to do. And when you've got club captain, someone like Mark Noble, been there basically his entire career, bleeds the club. And then I don't understand why the deal's been done. I watched him in the Championship and thought he was a good young English player. Why would you let him go if you weren't going to use him this year? Loan him out. He scored in some friendlies recently that I'd seen on Sky Sports News. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't track. Great bit of business for West Brom because they had him last year on loan and he did brilliant for them. And they're probably more than confident signing a player of his calibre at his age. Why are West Ham selling a young England international, a decent winger, for the fee that they've sold him for? Why? Just what is the reasoning behind that? I don't think they've got a great squad. I don't think they've got a great manager. And I'm pretty sure that someone might have said in that boardroom that they would be a Champions League side in 5 years after moving to the London Stadium. And I think this might be season 5, and they couldn't be anywhere fucking further from that. I'd be surprised if they stay up.
Yeah, I completely agree. Go on, Daz.
No, I'm going to say that I can't see him staying up. I think there's unrest there, and I know the fans from what I hear, a good 70 to 75% of fans don't even like the ground. They don't like going to the games, and when your players aren't even happy, your fans are even unhappier, and it's just going to cause one of these massive protests, social distance protests, hopefully, and getting the board out. And it's going to be a mess of a season for them. I can see them being really bad this season if they don't get someone sorted there. Really bad.
They've got to get someone like a big signing in, or at least something just to try and cover that. Because I think what it is in the past, obviously they've sold like say Rio Ferdinand to us, like back in the day they lost Joe Cole, like they're big like prospects to teams you would argue are bigger at the time in terms of more likely to do stuff like in Europe or at least play in Europe. This time they've sold to someone who's just coming up from the Championship. And it's their brightest prospects. You would argue.
The fans would say that it's their brightest prospect.
Yeah.
Yes. Since Rice, he would probably be down as like, oh, we're getting Dean Garner back this season. He's great. He's tricky. He's a good dribbler. He causes problems. You would say that he was one of the bright academy players, and you know that that's factual. If Mark Noble doesn't just come out for shits and giggles, does he?
Hell no.
He wants to keep everyone tight knit and on board with the club and everything nice and smooth. And when he comes out and disagrees with it, I'm pretty sure Declan Rice liked the comment as well.
Yeah.
Real unrest there, and that for me would be the most worrying sign.
You've got to look at your teams like West Ham and that are going to struggle or potentially struggle, whichever way you want to look at it. They don't want to be making the three that have come up any stronger. Brighton, for example, we are not selling Ben White to Leeds United and strengthening Leeds United squad when we need to make sure we finish above them regardless. Credit to them, fair enough, stuck by the guns, he signed a new contract with him, good luck to the lad, off you go. West Ham should have done exactly the same and said, no, you've had him on loan, we've got him now, here we go. You're going to finish below us because we're keeping these better players. Or force West Brom's hand to go elsewhere. They didn't, they're giving straight away in. It's like handing somebody something that's a lot better than what you've got in your other hand.
I just don't know who doesn't rate him at the club. Who made the decision that he wasn't? They didn't want him at the club. It didn't make sense for him to be at the club.
I don't know. The one thing that I've seen, and this might be, I don't know, maybe an issue. I don't know what the finances are like there, but they put out a statement, or there was a statement I saw, and it said that they're going to put all the transfer fee straight to the transfer budget. Now that means to me that are they needing to sell to buy? Which a club like that, when they're getting a stadium and stuff like that, and thinking they're going to grow because they've got this big stadium and that, you think that surely you'd be able to, you wouldn't need to sell, if that makes sense.
West Ham at one stage looked like they were going to be the next big challenger for top four. They looked like they were going to be the next team to come along, and it couldn't be further from the truth now.
I mean, look at some of the players they brought in. Felipe Anderson, 18 million. It's not really. Are they thereabouts?
Who are they going to buy for 18 million?
Exactly.
Walk into a dressing room now that's against the actual board and everything.
They're not. They need a bandage now, and I don't know what player that is. And they have spent a bit of money, and I don't know if the transfers have been fantastic. You say Felipe Anderson, but his problem is converting the ball into the back of the net, and
he'll go.
Yeah, Malenko's another one.
Some of the manager choices are probably where they've gone hugely wrong, and I'd like to liken it to someone like now Everton.
For me, they're kind of similar, aren't they? In their
you want to become a big club all of a sudden that might start challenging that top 7 area and being consistently there. We need a big club mentality, and you need a big club manager bringing in decent players. Ancelotti's not there; they don't get Alan. They had
Pellegrini, didn't they? Who won the Premier League?
Yeah, but he won the Premier League at a Man City that was absolutely rich.
Yeah.
Which I don't take it away from him. It's an accolade, and the way they won it were unbelievable, wasn't it? And I think he won it twice. I can't remember. I think he won it twice over a period of like 3 seasons or 4 seasons.
You might be right. I'm not sure if it was Mancini who won it before, though. I can't remember.
Yeah, Mancini. I'm sure he won it twice. I can't remember anyway.
Anyway,
but at the end of the day, it was a rich club. We haven't seen him go on and do amazing things since, whereas Ancelotti's always been consistently big. I wouldn't say, like, as much as he had a big name, I wouldn't say he's consistent to someone like an Ancelotti or a big-time manager. If you wanted to put a statement on it, bring in a big name. And there's big names out there. West Ham, decent academy, decent stadium that they pay absolutely fuck all on, and they got a brilliant deal with it. They basically robbed whoever gave them the stadium, the Olympic Association or whatever it was. I don't know who had it. It'll be the council, I imagine, actually. And then you've got that. You're paying fuck all for a stadium that fits that many people in it. And then you make terrible sign. Pochettino's still out there doing nothing.
It's London as
He's
well.
He's doing absolutely nothing. It's a London club. You've got to sell the club. You've got to convince the person to go there. But would you have ever imagined a player of Ancelotti's level would go to Everton without? I could have seen him go to Liverpool.
It's kind of what I was saying with Solskjaer before, isn't it? It's kind of this is the sort of thing I was meaning before.
It shocks you, but whoever is on the board at Everton convinced him you should come in. This is a club that you can make a real impact in this league, and he bought into it. So there's no saying that you couldn't get Poch to buy into it or another big name manager. It's just how you sell the club. Obviously, West Ham aren't doing very well at that, and the ownership probably doesn't help.
Yeah, anything to add on that, does at all?
No, exactly what I've said already. I think they're in for a tough season. I wouldn't like to be a West Ham fan.
One team you could argue that might be doing a few bits, Wolves.
When do Wolves never do any transfer business? They're always in transfer market. They're always buying in players. They've got the full Portuguese squad on there.
Pretty much,
sure.
it was another one, wasn't it?
Signed
Get
the next
Ronaldo.
Portuguese wonder kid, so
Yeah, the next time they buy a player, it'll be Ronaldo next year, I tell you.
retire at Wolves.
Portugal Wanderers, isn't it? So good
The
luck
thing
to
is people whinge about Wolves. Oh, they've just got Portugal squad. They've just got that. They've got 7th place for the last 2 seasons as well, though. So does it really matter if you're a Wolves fan? You don't care. You could care less. I think Fabio Silva's an absolutely brilliant sign. I don't know how good he's going to be, but he's been highly rated by everyone now for 2 seasons. He's a kid, and you can tell that. He doesn't look like he's ever shaved before.
Like me.
But I think he's got. Yeah, all right. You've got years on you, tough milk ground, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to the Premiership. But if he's gone to the right team for it, for me, Wolves just don't. They never swing and miss. Everyone they seem to bring in, it's just a home run. They've done some fantastic business over their time in the. I've never seen a team come up and be as good as they are from day one, and have consistently, not just all of a sudden second season syndrome gone down, next season gone down. They just keep performing to such a high level, and I'm really confident that they'll be up there in the top 10 next season, and probably not far off 7th again.
Well, you said it before, haven't you? You said about, like, the first season, obviously they got 7th, and then they've played an absolute shit ton of games extra because of the Europa League and whatever. Still finished 7th. That's, even though it doesn't look like progress on paper,
But
it is.
they started badly, and what I loved about it is they started badly, and nobody panicked. Everyone had faith in the situation. Everyone had faith in what they were building, in the manager, in the team, in the players, that they would come good. And they did come good. And that was so nice to see, because usually you get, they played a lot of games, started the season poorly. It's going to be a bad season for them. No one at Wolves were panicking. They knew what they were capable of. They did it once again. I still remember the Man City game. Unbelievable. And Adama Traore is a player who I've slated for a long time for being someone who's really quick and strong, but just runs off the pitch. He can't stop himself. He's got no control, not good enough. This season, he was brilliant, and that's a bank. A lot of that is down to Nuno and his backroom staff fixing those finer parts of his game. He's never struggled for strength, and he's never struggled for pace. But now I've got a lot of faith with him on the ball, and he looks far better skill-wise. I just think Wolves is just... People sleep on Wolves all the time as well, because you just don't... They just go about the business. They just do what they do. I haven't heard that many people mention that Fabio Silva's signed for Wolves. And I think it's a brilliant signing. But, hey, I think Wolves will not change now for a while. They'll just keep doing what they're doing.
So another team that's had a little bit of business happen is Brighton. More in the outgoings, to be honest with you. They're basically... Glenn Murray, the old stalwart's gone out on loan to Watford. I mean... They've already got Troy Deeney, who's like 32, 33. Let's go get one that's even older. 37, I think he is. I mean, can you see him making an impact in them getting them back into the Premier League?
I think Troy will leave Watford, personally.
I think so?
I think Troy will probably leave Watford. I think it might be brought out a bit, but Troy will leave Watford. And Murray didn't really have a choice, because you're not allowed to use a Zimmer in the Premiership, whereas in the Championship you might get away with it. So that's probably why he did that. And, you know, when he's on his scooter on his way to the ground, it's a lot easier to get to Watford for him than it is to Brighton. It's down by the seaside. The sea air's not good for his old bones. He struggles. So I understand why he's gone to Watford. Makes sense. I don't know. I think the guy scores goals, don't he? I can see him scoring goals in the Championship. He still managed to score some in the Prem. So I think it's actually a good bit of business. Age hasn't hit him too hard, unlike some of the cast on this show. He doesn't struggle too much, I don't think, on the pitch. He's an all right goal scorer, isn't he? And I think at Championship level, he might be okay. But I don't know. But Brighton maybe up top could be struggling, but I would imagine they're looking probably to bring someone in up top. It'll be interesting, though. I think they should have got him for someone like a Callum Wilson, but it looks like he'll probably end up somewhere else now.
One player that does surprise me as to why he's gone is Aaron Moy. You know, he used to play for Town and ended up going to Brighton last season. He's got to Shanghai, £4 million, and apparently it was a clause or something. He's contracted for a team from China came in for him. It's to accept it, but what's that all about?
Well, but he's good.
That's what I mean. Like when they're better players.
Must be money.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
Money. It can only be money.
You can't blame him, can you?
No.
I won't blame him one bit whatsoever. And he's an Oz lad anyway, isn't he? So he's
I suppose it's closer to home,
over that way. But it just seems, from Brighton's perspective, why the hell would you ever let that clause be? And what are you just thinking, like, no one from China's ever going to come in for him? It's a weird one for the price. I always rated Moyes in midfield. Dangerous, could get you a goal. I'm very surprised, actually. Maybe Potter just... I don't know. Maybe
he's got too many options.
Maybe Potter felt he looked a bit too much like Voldemort, so he needed to go. I don't know. You never know, do you?
Harry Potter jokes for the win. One other player that's gone out on loan, which kind of cemented, like, obviously the decision, backing up the decision to get Ben White on a new contract. Shane Duffy's gone to Celtic on loan. How do you see him faring up there in Scotland? Just win league. That's about it.
Great signing for Celtic.
Yeah. Defensively.
Premiership experience, good solid centre back, something they need. Bit late now.
I was going to say, I was just about to say that.
Should have probably got the deal done a little bit sooner, but that's just usual Celtic. I don't rate Neil Lennon, but a good signing nonetheless. I think he'll do well for him. And I think if you're Celtic right now, you've got to, as much as you probably say as a Celtic fan, no, we're not worried. We're going to win the league again. I'd be a bit worried about Rangers because they look like they're making moves and they've definitely improved and weren't miles off last year. So I'd be a little bit nervous if I was a Celtic fan because they don't have Brendan Rodgers in charge and I'm not huge on Neil Lennon doing anything in football, to be honest with you.
Anything to add on those? Obviously with the Ben White situation, I know you were gutted, Daz, to see him not come back to Leeds.
But we've got Cock in our team now. And...
It
Here come the puns.
It helped the blow.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
I mean, he's meant to be twice as good as Ben White. I can't confirm, deny, or say he's or he isn't because I've never seen him.
I can confirm he's not.
He's not as twice as good as Ben White.
I think if you're twice as good as Ben White, you are something special because
you're Van Dijk.
Yeah, he's England centre back in the next couple of years in my book. He's Ben White.
I agree.
Brighton use him right. But yeah, I mean Celtic. Yeah, it's a good signing for him. If they add to it, like they're on about getting Douglas from Leeds, yeah, I think Celtic might be all right. But yeah, gutted about Ben White, but I'm sure he'll do well at Brighton.
We can't not talk about Leeds. Obviously, they made a couple of big signings themselves in terms of two international players. Robin Koch, I'm going to say. Obviously, we'll call him probably Robin for now. But yeah, and obviously Rodrigo as well. Basically, Robin's come in as obviously the replacement for Ben White. Now, the reason why all Leeds fans were gutted about Ben White and was like saying, we need to sign him, it's because he fit our system so well. Obviously, Bielsa has a certain style of play that he needs us to do, and he fits straight to the team straight away from day one against Bristol City last season. And it was just an epitome of composure. He just had, just seemed to be no weaknesses, really. And that's, for us, it's a massive loss. Yes, he's untested in the Premier League, but you know, and this is where we're at now. So is Robin. So at the end of the day, we're kind of like, it's up in air really, because we've only got Liam Cooper otherwise, who's a recognised centre-back as it stands. Obviously a couple of Oliver Case has played for us a couple of times in pre-season, but he's not going to be the answer.
So... Did we sign someone today?
No, it
No,
hasn't gone through yet.
we've got a young. Is he Serbian lad coming?
It's Croatian. There's a Croatian lad called
Croatian.
Gvardiol or something like that. He's
Yeah.
meant to be coming, but it's not been official yet. It's not gone through.
Fibre,
But
sure.
apparently, 18 million quid or whatever it is, and he's 18 years old. I know that Bayern Munich have been interested in him, but I mean, I don't know. I can't say I know that much about him. I just know he's meant to be like one of the next best things from Croatia in terms of defenders.
Didn't know about Ben White until we signed him. So
Yeah, exactly. And this is why that's why obviously we're just getting Robin as well. We're not that.
trusting Bielsa.
Yeah, it's Bielsa, exactly. And if he thinks they're going to be good enough, because obviously Otto will go out, our director of football will go out and he'll say, like, there's this player available. Do you want him? He's going to say yeah or nay. And if he says nay, then obviously you trust that decision if he's not going to go for him.
His word's
And obviously
gospel,
opposite
innit,
way.
really, in Leeds, his word's gospel. If Bielsa don't want someone, we don't have him. That's why when you look at us fighting to let Big Kev go, the stuff like that is quite purely. If Bielsa don't want someone, he's not going to play. He's not going to be around the thing. He's not going to play. It's his word is gospel, isn't it? Really.
And then other player, obviously, we got in Rodrigo, and they both played against each other in international in the Nations League recently. Yeah, I mean, Rodrigo started. He got an assist right at the end of the game. I believe he beat Robin in the air for the assist as well. But you know, hopefully, a sort of side of things comes. Maybe it's just Rodrigo's just that good. But we'll have to wait and see. It's not. I mean, Daz will tell us. Well, Daz will tell us. You know, more so like how many. I mean, his goal scoring record isn't great. I know he's got quite a few assists, especially last season. But Valencia did struggle. So I mean,
Valencia was terrible last year.
Yeah,
he seems to be a player a bit like Bamford, though, where he brings players into the game.
yeah,
but he seems to be a bit more skillful and a bit more. He's the class above Bamford, basically.
It's like a better Bamford.
Yeah, well, a lot better than Bamford. But he isn't going to come to Leeds and score 20, 30 goals a season. So any Leeds fans that think that, get that out of your heads. Because he isn't going to do that in the Premier League as this guy. The only concern I've got is we paid £30 million for a 29-year-old that had 6 injuries, exactly the same injuries last season. That's worrying in my book. But he's obviously passed the medical, so we go with it. And again, in Bielsa, I trust. So I'm going to have to just go with it and hope that he does bring in these players that are going to bring players into it. And it could be interesting seeing him and Bamford up front, really. You never know. I mean, there's talks that there may be 2 up front this season. From what Phil and others have been saying, so
I can't
see that either.
I can't see it. I can't see it.
Or maybe a late change or something if we're chasing a game. That's the only way.
We tried it at Fulham away, didn't we?
Once, which will be nice going forward. There's going to be an option on the bench to do something different, which we haven't had. Which I think in the Premiership is always handy to have, like an ace up your sleeve. I think, like you said, we were never looking to sign a striker that was going to score 30 goals next season. It's not how we play. So we were never going to do that. But Bielsa as a striker, he's always looking at someone who could bring the ball down, link up play, good at passing. And Rodrigo isn't in the Spain side to score a ton of goals. He's in there to help link up play. If you look at the way they pass the ball and the way they move the ball, that's just his style of play. I don't judge his goal record whatsoever anywhere because now he's at Leeds and he's playing under Bielsa. So I don't judge anyone who ever walks into that dressing room based on what they've done somewhere else, because he needs to forget all of that because he's about to learn a harsh lesson. Once he enters that training ground and starts training with the boys, every single player will always tell you, I've never done nothing like it. It's ridiculous. And they all say that he makes them better. So if we thought he was good before, he's going to be even better now. And I think if we find the right players to link up with him, Rodrigo de Paul comes in, the forward attacking movement could be very exciting this season, or at least we all hope it will be.
I mean, obviously it's not confirmed, the DePaul transfer, but he looks pretty spicy, I won't lie. One thing I've heard being described of Rodrigo is like a B-Tech Firmino, which it's not necessarily, it's not exactly a bad thing, but you know, he's not going to be quite the standard of Firmino, but he's going to be, for us, he probably will be, like for us, he probably more likely will, because he's going to have more about him than what Daz says than probably what Bamford has got. Although Bamford is very good at linking up the play, he's a bit more dynamic, he's got a bit more pace, he's got a bit more of an all-round game to him. That from the little bits I've seen of him, I know he had a bit, that's what I mean. His
footwork on the ball is definitely better. The big key will be when we start watching games is is his conversion rate better than Bamford? Because Bamford's had sitters.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of highlights of Rodrigo, and he scores sitters. If he's in a team that's not creating chances for him, it's not his fault that he's not scoring goals. Not the Valencia side last year were absolutely woeful. It's probably the worst I think they've performed in a long time.
And obviously now they've got the financial problems, haven't they? Hence why we've got him for, by all accounts, a cheap price, although it seems expensive to us.
Spanish, it's not expensive.
No, a lot of Leeds fans are saying we're spending a lot of money on a 29-year-old. No retail value, really. You know, and obviously, like Dad says, there could be injury issues.
We're not looking for retail value.
No, I know.
We're looking for someone to come in and do the job. If the guy retires at the age of 34, but he spends 4 seasons with us and scores 60, 70 goals and we stay in the Premiership, then he'll be lauded. We don't need nothing back for him. We're in the Prem now. It's the money land. We need players that are going to be able to perform.
I think the way a lot of Leeds players are looking at it, that's our marquee signing, and I think they expected a little bit better. Personally, I think, like I say, if I can stay fit, I think it'll be fine. I'm more looking forward to the likes of Sam Greenwood hopefully breaking into the team. Sam Greenwood from Arsenal, from what I hear, is an absolute talent and a half. We have got a very talented under-23 team at the moment anyway.
He's added to as well.
This is like we've got this level of superior youth team, and we're adding another level to it, and it's exciting times for Leeds fans in that respect. And this Sam Greenwood's broke all kind of records from what I hear in under 18s and under 21s, scoring more goals than anyone else has ever done. So I'm looking forward to it. But I mean, we'll see how the rest of it pans out for us Leeds fans with the transfers. See who he brings in and who we don't.
Right, guys, so at this stage of the podcast, we just want to draw your attention to a cause that's quite dear to all our hearts. And considering the circumstances going on at the moment in the world with COVID and so on, so forth, so many situations and problems that people may be struggling with, we just don't want people to be struggling in silence. So we're going to play a message for you now of a dear friend of ours that works for a mental health charity. Guys, seriously, do not struggle in silence. People are there for you. We're there for you. Make sure that you check out this message and hit him up if you're having any struggles. Our DMs are always open, and his are too.
Hi everyone, my name's Lee. I'm a director for a charity organisation called Evolve and Mindset. We set this company up to support people with their mental health problems within the local community. As we continue to grow, the purpose of what we do is to raise awareness for mental health, and I think there's a massive gap within the online world, within the world of gaming, not just in the FM community, but in the gaming community as a whole. And what we're trying to do is continue to raise that awareness. Now, I've started a Twitch channel myself. It's Limo57. And it's just created an environment, a community where people can come and have some fun, enjoy each other's company, somewhere safe and confidential should you need any support around your mental health. We do offer sessions via Zoom, obviously due to the current climate at the moment and the situation with COVID. We've adapted the way in which we deliver those sessions. So we're currently offering mindset and goal setting. We're looking at mental health awareness, stress and anxiety management, mindfulness and relaxation, and low self-esteem and building resilience. These kind of come hand in hand, these sessions, and it really does, support people. And we've had some fantastic feedback, and especially within the Twitch world now, it's important that we do continue to raise that awareness, because not enough people are talking about it. Not enough people are reaching out, and it's important that we raise the platform. We get this brand out there, and we let people know that there is somewhere for you to come. There is someone to talk to. You can get in touch with me personally, via Discord or via Twitch, but you can also get in touch with us as Evolve and Mindset. You can go to our website, which is www.evolveandmindset.co.uk. You can email us confidential. It's evolveandmindset@outlook.com. We're also on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on Twitter. And guys, please, please, please get in touch if you're struggling with your mental health, no matter how low it is, how low level it is, or no matter how you're feeling. If you feel like you need some support and you need some advice or some guidance, please just get in touch with us. I'm linking up with Liquid Gaming because we want to really, really raise that awareness, and we want to spread the word even further across this platform, and also, you know, during these really, really tough times. So please get in touch, and I'll catch you again soon. Cheers, guys.
Right, so moving on to another team who I don't think has strengthened that much, to be fair. Instead of just come up via the playoffs, Fulham. So far, they've only brought in Anthony Robinson, Mario Lemina, and Harrison Reed, which I believe Harrison Reed was already there on loan. So, I mean, I don't know what you guys think of that, but looking at their team currently, like the same team that got promoted, essentially, with the exception of Southampton's Mario Lemina on loan, which obviously, I mean, I don't know how much he featured last season, but I'm led to believe that he didn't feature all that much last season.
It was out on loan.
It was out on loan, was he? So there you go then. So
the fallout between him and Hasselhoetel.
Is that what it was?
Just didn't get on, and halfway through the season, he ended up going out on loan. At one point, he was touted to be going to Man United.
Right.
Never happened. But this
Fair
was
enough,
before
then.
Bruno had gone.
Right, fair enough. I mean, obviously, Anthony Robinson was probably a standout player for Wigan, but again, it's Championship standard.
It held, didn't it?
Yeah.
The problem is for me, I know some people seem to have an issue with it. It's obvious. Last time they came up, they spent 100 and odd million, and they've still got some of those players in the team now. They've only just got back up. I'm not surprised they're not signing anyone. In fact, I actually applaud them for not making ridiculous signings like they did last time.
That's a learn from a lesson.
Yeah, come up with the squad that you had. Some of them are players that you signed in that time period as well. Have a good season. If you go back down, you probably came up ahead of schedule anyway. Scott Parker's probably someone they're going to give time, who I think we can all say wears his heart on his sleeve. I really like the guy. And Fulham played some decent football last season. They really did play some decent football to the point where nearly snuck in right at the end. I actually like the business they're doing. A few more players, a couple of loans, maybe one or two marquee signings. I think there's still like 30 days left of the transfer window-ish.
Yeah.
So I actually quite like the business that they're doing. I understand it. They spent a lot last time. You don't want to make the same mistake again. Villa nearly did. And I kind of applaud them for not making just tons and tons of signings that aren't needed. I think Scott Parker's happy with the core of his team. I quite like Lemina as well. He was a very good player for a portion of time before Hasselhotel just couldn't get in the team.
Yeah. What about you, Des? What are your thoughts on Fulham? Do you think they're going to have a chance of staying up as it stands?
I mean, a lot of... I've been speaking to people, Leeds fans and a few other different clubs in Premier League, and they've said that it's kind of good for teams like Leeds that Fulham haven't bought anyone because they haven't strengthened. But like Matt says, do they need to strengthen? They could probably stay up with 2 signings, like Matt says, maybe, and they could potentially stay up because they did play some really nice football last year, and they had a bad patch. But again, like Matt says, they nearly snuck into automatic. So I think they'll be just fine next year. I think they'll be fine.
I think it depends on who they get, though.
Squad.
You've got Mitrovic,
in the Premiership striker. They had the most Premiership level squad in the Championship last year.
Yeah.
And the Championship's a cruel mistress. It's an hard league to play on. You know, you're not guaranteed that you're going to do well. Get promotion is a very difficult thing to do, especially automatically. You see people fall short all the time. But if you look at Fulham's squad on paper, it's not that dissimilar to the team that was in the Premiership. They've got some very good players in that team. And I don't think that they have to make wholesale changes to be a good team. They've got a striker who I believe can score in the Premiership and will score in the Premiership and has in the past been a Premiership striker. They've got an okay back line, a decent midfield. I rate Harrison Reed. I think they'll be all right. Craney, I genuinely think they don't have that bad of a team coming up. If you looked at any of the teams that really needed improving, like I would have said us, because of loans and whatnot, we needed to improve, we needed to strengthen. What would the style of football worked in the Championship to get us promoted, but you need that quality. Whereas I would have said Fulham are just one of those teams that sometimes had some off games, poor form. It's hard to do it in the Championship. Actually, on paper, have probably the closest to being a Premiership squad.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think the signings, if they do make any signs, have got to be an improvement because, with respect, signing bottom end championships like left backs or whatever, it's not really going to cut it for me. But That's my opinion, of course. But just moving on. Obviously, we've got a couple more teams. We've got a couple of players such as Palace have confirmed the signing of Eze, or Eze, however it's pronounced. I know we talked about him the last time, so that's actually gone through now. So I mean, I don't know if that's going to change your opinion on Palace, because I know you said it might change your opinion on where you might think they might finish.
The goal scorer for me, they need. I think it's a great signing, but they need it.
They need a goal scorer, yeah.
Benteke. Might as well partner Benteke and Braithwaite up top. Sorted. There you go, Palace. Welcome to Championship.
But then otherwise, obviously, Arsenal have finally got I believe it's a defender, Gabriel, I think.
Yeah, from Lille.
Yeah.
Very good signing, I think. A lot of people wanted him, which usually tends to tell you the situation. He was highly touted by a few. Even, I think, Juve were linked with him at one point, so with PSG. And they also have Saliba coming back, who they signed the season before.
Yeah.
Another French centre-back there. So, I don't know. Arsenal are making minor moves, but they looked good towards the end of last season. I think the biggest important thing for Arsenal to do is you get Aubameyang to sign on that dotted line and say, I'm going to be an Arsenal player for the next 3 years. That would be the biggest bit of business. But I think if you're an Arsenal fan, you look how how they played at the end of the season, and then you look at what business they're doing now, I'd be pretty happy with it, to be honest with you. I feel like sometimes, and I said this I can't remember if it was the last pod or not, I punished Spurs for the business they were doing. Now, my argument was they weren't making big key signings for a top 4 side, but they were plodding along nicely and finished well under Mourinho, considering where they were. So, Arsenal doing the same, I can't see them having an unbelievable season. 5th, 6th, maybe 4th, depending if there's a team there that has a terrible season. Arsenal or Spurs can be there. So, I don't think they're going to be challenging, but I think they've definitely got an opportunity, and Arsenal have got 2 bits of silverware now. So,
winning mentality, I guess, isn't it?
Arteta's doing something right, and the way they play is quite nice to watch. When the game against Liverpool was nice and open, and I know it's practically a pre-season friendly, but if they play that style of football all season long, I think they'll do better than worse.
Yeah. Like I say, I just think they've needed to strengthen, obviously, the defence, and if they're doing that, and if this Saliba's any good, because I remember when he signed, he went straight out on loan, and I remember all Arsenal fans kicking off.
It was a loan back deal, wasn't it?
Is that? Well, I get that's what it was, but I know the Arsenal fans at the time, they were like, "What we do? What's the point even signing for? Not even going to need him for this. We need defenders now, sort of thing." But one player who has gone, Mkhitaryan. What went wrong for him?
I've literally just noticed that Mkhitaryan's gone to Roma, which is a classic signing for Roma. It's just the sort of player that Roma would like.
He was on loan there.
I didn't know he was going permanently, though.
I just assumed he would. The same as I'm surprised. I don't know if it's happened, but I thought Smalling had signed for, I can't remember where he was. Were it Fiorentina?
No,
he was Roma as well, yeah.
Would sign for them. But no, that doesn't surprise me. Mkhitaryan's not featured in the Arsenal team for a while. It was.
So what went wrong?
It was an expectation.
They terminated his contract by mutual consent.
Yeah, I mean, he got a fee. But what I mean is, what because he was touted to be like really good when he first went to Man United.
He was good at Dortmund. Yeah, but he was good on loan. He was good on loan at Roma. Chris Smalling was good.
Yeah. No, but what I mean is, why didn't he make it in the Premier League sort of thing? He didn't really do that well.
He had a rough time at Man United, didn't he? And under a spell where things weren't great, and then he gets put in a swap deal, didn't he? Pretty sure it was a swap deal. That didn't work out for either club, really.
I think when you look
at Sanchez,
it as well,
it was Sanchez that won it.
Yeah, I think when you look at
that.
No,
just remembered something about that.
When you look at it as well, Arsenal are wanting to give Aubameyang this massive pay rise. What better way to get somebody off your pay?
Ozil off the books as well.
Yeah, that's what they need.
Sat at home, you'd be living in pig shit, wouldn't you? You'd be over the moon. Honestly, be over the moon. If you manage to get rid of Ozil and Mkhitaryan, big wage, not going to play. When you look at their midfield at the minute, especially with some of the young players they've got, I couldn't imagine who would start ahead. Although I have heard rumours that Guendouzi might go, which for me is interesting. But there were signs that Arteta weren't happy with Guendouzi's attitude.
Yeah,
nothing to do with his football style, but his actual attitude. So that potentially, if I was an Arsenal fan, as much as I'd be like, great young French player, I would take that as trusting Arteta in the sense that he's not happy and he's a bit petulant. And I felt like he was a bit like that. When you try to
That
strangle
Brighton game, wasn't it?
in that Brighton game. I've always thought he were a bit of a loose cannon. Unfortunately, he probably takes after his brother, David Luiz. But I always thought he was a bit of a loose cannon. And I like him. I think he could be a brilliant footballer, but maybe Arteta just doesn't have the time to tutor him and sort his attitude out. Just wants a team that want to be playing for him now, want to play and listen to him and do what he says. I could imagine Guendouzi being a bit difficult to work with at times.
Aston Villa as well, the fact that they've only brought in one player so far.
But it's the same sort of thing, probably. They probably learned a lesson from last time.
And they brought in a good player, in all fairness. Matty
Yeah.
Cash.
It's not bad, but again, it's championship standard, isn't it? You know, that's
Yeah, but
is that
we were looking at the like the
Championship standard.
say that again, sorry.
James Maddison was
Yeah,
champion.
Well, yeah, you got a point. Yeah,
Loads of championship players do that these days because the championship is a better level now. A lot of if you're one of the top players in the championship, you can near enough nail on guarantee that if you walk into a Premiership club, you'll be all right. Harvey Barnes did it at West Brom for half a season, walked into Leicester team. So you do see it now. You see it a lot more now. That a championship player, it's not like championship quality. Championship quality is pretty decent these days. I mean,
you have to look at some of Brentford's players, don't you? Like Benrahma and Watkins, players like that will make easy E, big E. He's going to make it at Crystal Palace. It's a perfect club for him to do it at as well because they're not a massive club, but it'll be out in the 14
as well because they're crying out for someone to be the next Zaha or take that mantle.
He's got that podium to stand on now. And
star power, hasn't he? He's definitely got star power.
That's fair.
And eyes are already on him.
Yeah. Because before we wrap up, I just remembered halfway through, that last little segment, Sanchez, what about what he came out and said? Said that when he first joined Man United, after the first day, he wanted to go back to Arsenal.
Are you surprised?
That's a weird one.
Money we're on as well.
It's a weird one. And I'd love to know why, and he didn't. He's a bit of a cock for that, isn't he? He didn't say why he felt like that. He could have said, the training ground, or I spoke with the players, and the players were like, it's shit here. Or because there's one thing I will say is I can't see it being Mourinho, because after watching what Mourinho's like, all I've done is gain respect for him.
Exactly.
And if anyone ever questions his man management skills, they're an idiot, because his man management to me seems, whether you like the way he plays football or not, seems extremely good. So I think it could just be the situation of what was Man United at that time. I think Mourinho got caught up in a terrible time at Man United. I've talked about this recently. People go up, when Mourinho got sacked at Chelsea. Mourinho got sacked at Man United. Mourinho only gets sacked when a team does absolutely... They're either brilliant or horrendous. And usually when they're horrendous, there's something gone on behind the scenes why they're horrendous. The Paul Pogba fallout, not getting the players he wanted when he were at Man United. He wanted Maguire a season before that. He wanted Bruno Fernandes, not getting the players he wanted. Chelsea, falling out with the chairman, and then falling out with players. That tends to be when it goes wrong for Mourinho. And his honesty probably does hurt him a little bit. When you're seeing him call Dele Alli a lazy twat in the first...
To his face.
Yeah,
to his face as well.
At the club, you can't, and I applaud Dele Alli for his reaction. You can't help but think that he definitely will tell you what he thinks, but he'll definitely do his best to help you. And I think sometimes if you've got issues in the dressing room and you're not backed by the board, which he had at Chelsea and he had at Man United before he got sacked, then what more can you do? Man United have just been on this spiral. The best thing that could happen if you're a Man United fan is the chairman's fuck off and Woodward goes, because I can't see them ever being what they was with teams doing what they're doing now. You know what I mean? Like, you look at Klopp, Liverpool come out and said, look, we haven't got money this year. We haven't got money, but we'll try and support you in any way, which, shape or form we can. And Klopp's gone, yeah, cool, no worries. Know exactly what's going on. Man United come out and go, we're going to sign you Sancho. Don't you worry, Ollie, we're going to sign you Sancho. Does it look like Sancho's going in? I don't know if he is or not, but they're going to end up paying an absolute metric fuck ton to get him. So it just goes to show you. And it worked both ways at Liverpool. We can't get Van Dijk. Who do you want? I'll wait for Van Dijk. cool, we trust you, we'll wait with you. It works both ways. I don't see it doing that at Man United, and I think the first sign of poorness, Ollie's gone, and let's bring in the next guy to have a terrible time. The hierarchy is probably what needs to change there now. The hierarchy is terrible compared to other clubs, especially top 4 teams.
Oh, I think Man United fans have been Glazers out and all that for God knows how many years now. So
It's brilliant as a Leeds fan, isn't it, to sit back and watch? But
well, yeah.
It's not better than seeing the demise
But
of Man United.
at the end of the day, you can't really say it's a demise, can you? 'Cause look, we had a demise.
They have demise, don't they? But not to our standards.
No,
But
exactly.
I just think they're not feared anymore. I said it earlier. They're not feared. People look at them now and think, right, we'll play Man United next week. We just go again. You know what I mean? It's not like when they play Liverpool.
The team in the league, and it's crazy to think that would have ever really happened. But they have become a bit of a joke in the league. Like you say, teams go there and go at them, crumble.
And it's like when you come up against like this season, when you think, fuck it, we've got Liverpool first game of the season. Please don't get hammered, Leeds. It's in your head. Oh God, they're a great team. They're going to be all over us. If it had been Man United first game of the season, I'd have been get in. We'll have these first game, no problem. We'll definitely get something out of it. 100%. We won't leave there, Old Trafford, theatre of whatever they call it, without a point at least. But you know, when you go to Liverpool, you think it's going to be tough to get a point there. And if it's Man City away, tough. Chelsea, tough. Man United, not so tough anymore, I'm afraid. They'll probably go beat us twice now, and there'll be loads of comments saying, well, that backfired on you. But I honestly do believe that they're not feared anymore. And I don't believe that Ollie's the man to take them back to where they were either, if I'm honest with you. And I don't know who is, if I'm honest with you. But like Matt
The obvious choice would be Poch, wouldn't it? But
the board has
they
to
had
go
the chance, didn't they?
Because I might be one of the only men in the world that think this, but I think he's overrated.
Not Poch.
Yeah, he's
but on paper, he'd still be the one who's more. He'd be more likely than Ollie, wouldn't he?
No, because if you bring Poch in, you are saying that you're going to build through youth, because that's what Poch has done his entire career so far, is build with underdog teams through youth. The same at Spurs. The biggest signing he made was Ndombele, and look at him. They're all about selling him for a tenner and a packet of crisps. It's not gone well for the lad. And I rate him. He was great at Lyon, but it's not gone well for the lad. His injuries galore, so I don't know who checked his medicals. He needs to put some glasses on. But this is the problem. Man United are a big team. So you've got to think an Allegri. You've got to think someone who is a top dog, who's a top name. And I know a lot of people want to see Poch and they want to see him manage one of these big teams. Poch is someone I would have preferred at Barcelona, and you have a complete rebuild. Let's start bringing youth back through again. Let's start changing the way we're doing it. His football that he plays is fantastic, but let's change it. Are Man United willing to not start buying players like Sancho and this guy and that guy for 80 and 60 and 70 and be completely priced up to the fucking max for players and be paying ridiculous fees for just, not average players, but not world-class players? I can't remember. I cannot remember the last world-class player they really signed where they did the deal done and dusted nice and easy. Bruno Fernandes took nearly 2 seasons to get. And look how much of a difference he's made for them, but nearly 2 seasons to bring in. But they go and sign Harry Maguire straight away for like 80 million and Paul Pogba for 90-odd million or whatever it was. It's just, Pochettino, for me, I don't feel like he fits that style. And what would worry me is Poch comes in, I think he has a rough time, and it shits all over his career. I think he needs to go somewhere where he can build, and he built so well at Spurs, let's be honest. Look at the team that made it to a Champions League final, and he built that over years of work, bringing in players, and being clever and being smart and being shrewd. And unfortunately, it fell apart the season after, is what it is. I think he probably couldn't get the players' heads back after the Champions League loss and whatnot and live up to... It was an unbelievable season. It's hard to live back up to that with the squad he had. But he did spend record fees, and it didn't work out for him. I don't see Man United being the place that it does now work out for him. I've seen him being very similar to Ollie in the sense that youth and stuff like that, and you're just not going to get that at Man United at the minute, which is weird. One hand, they're like, we're going to start using youth. The other hand, we're going to spend 120 million on Jadon Sancho. Well, what are we doing then?
Well, I mean, technically speaking, you could say he's a young player, but the only thing I'd say,
you've produced,
Yeah,
though.
I know, but the only thing I would say is like in regards to managers at Man United, it was and it still is, in my opinion, a poison chalice. You know, it still is because I remember when Moyes went there, we were always onto a loser there. You know, but it's like what else? You've had Van Gaal there, you've had Mourinho there, two like highly respected managers. Mourinho's won practically everything, and even he couldn't win the fans over or win. Obviously, in the end, as you mentioned before, got sacked. So whoever goes there knows there's a risk that they're going to ruin their reputation. You know, if it don't go well.
I think Mourinho found that out the hard way.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Showed everybody else what it's going to be like because he went there and he finished second, and I think he won a cup. Was it the FA Cup?
He won Europa League.
Yeah, he won the Europa League,
Yeah.
and then the second season he didn't get the signings he wanted. It didn't work out for him. He told him, "Get rid of Paul Pogba. He's not good to have around. Get rid of Paul. Get rid of Paul. Make a lot of money. Let's bring other players in." That's obviously what he wanted. Him and Pogba had a massive fallout. He obviously wanted rid, and they backed. It's really strange. They backed Pogba over Mourinho, who is, well, he's the trophy manager, isn't he? There's a reason you brought him in. He's going to get you trophies, so why not do what he's told you to do? But they obviously chose Pogba over Mourinho, and Mourinho lost trust in the owners. All compiles on itself, done it, and then goes to shit. And then you bring in Solskjaer because he's someone you can boss about. He's someone
Yes,
who's
man.
he's someone who will think, Pogba's not good to have around dressing room, but he'll be all right. He'll be all right. We want him here in your interviews. We want him here. Whereas Mourinho go, Pogba not so good. That's the difference. So they've got a bit of a yes man in now, and I think they like it that way. They
kind of got away with it this season because they finished third, got in Champions League. So they'll probably see it as it's a gamble that's paid off so far.
He played decent football, but let's be honest with you, and Man United fans can think what they want. They weren't finishing third until Bruno Fernandes joined. And then they got, Varchester United. They had about fucking 19 penalties. And don't get me wrong, they fully deserved it. The way they played once Bruno was in there, and I'd said it for ages that they needed a playmaker, and they didn't have. Oh, we've got Pogba, he's crap. Well, you needed a playmaker. I genuinely think Pogba's the most overrated player I've ever met. He's not. He's just.
You met him?
He's just not good. Yeah, I shook his hand and I went, "Oh fucking hell, you're shit, aren't you? You crap. You fucking crap." No, I'm joking. He's just not very good. But he's not good, is he? In the main stage, he hasn't shown it. If you're supposed to, he's supposed to carry the team with the amount of money they've spent. Who would you rather have in your squad now, Bruno Fernandes or Paul Pogba?
You'd think it'd be based on performance. You'd think it'd be Bruno Fernandes.
Who would you want in your squad right now?
It'd be Fernandes, definitely.
There you go.
I'd take Pogba when he was playing at
Juventus,
but I wouldn't take him at Man United. I think he's done nothing since he's gone there. He's terrible.
You'd take Pogba in the Juve team. Would you take Pogba in a different team that you built? I don't know if I would.
I think he has to have a certain set of people around him for him to work, and he doesn't have it at Man United.
Italian football, and it's nothing against Italian football. I love Italian football, but definitely played into his hands more than the Premiership does.
Slower pace, you can lob balls about. You've got time to look and stop and move and look, and that's what he's good at. He's good at doing that as Pogba. If you give him time on the ball to have a look around, right, who's there, he can pick them passes. But if you pressure him, you'll notice his feet get tangled and he's off. And I won't have him. If they said come to Leeds, I'd say no, thank you. Take him away. We're quite happy with with our cock and kick. Whatever you want to say.
I'd have Bruno all day long though. To say Bruno's coming to Leeds, I'd be like, what a brilliant player.
While we're on about Man United, is a lot of their fans have started digging at Chelsea now, saying, "Oh, Chelsea have given up this idea of we're going to be a youth-only team," because that's what Lampard did. Was it Lampard that said it?
It was forced upon him, wasn't it?
Lampard said he wanted to use the youth. Well, he didn't have a choice.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. But Man United fans now are like, "Oh well, Frank Lampard's gone back on his word now." It's like, I don't think he
used youth last year like he said he was going to do.
Yeah, I don't think he
last year over senior members in the team, didn't he? That's why Pedro and William are gone. He favoured youth over them. Yeah. Giroud, he favoured Tammy over Giroud. Tammy did favour youth last year.
But I think they're all like, he should be buying the play. He's buying them because he's finishing above you this year. That's that one. Simple as.
More ambition. More ambition.
It's a football fan's dream to just pick fault at other teams and not really take a look at their own team and think, God, this is terrible. And I think that'll always be commonplace in football. So when you see people like, oh, I can't believe Chelsea is spending all that money, and then you ask them what team they support, and they're like, oh, Man City. It's like, oh, all right then. I think people forget that Man United have spent an absolute fortune over the years on some really, really bad players as well. Let's remember that. So they've wasted money on a lot of terrible players, whereas a Liverpool and a Man City and a maybe Chelsea now haven't.
I fancy Tottenham getting above them this year, but we'll see when we come to do our next predictions before the season starts. Which
the rest of the window's so pivotal now on what team to do. Man United, a couple of signings, and it's all of a sudden you'd fancy them to be a comfortable top 4 team. And I don't see Spurs doing much more than what they've done. I think there's been a conversation between Jose and Daniel Levy. Jose's wanted to be at a team long term for a long time. He said when he were at Chelsea that he wanted to do what Ferguson did at Man United, but he wanted to do it at Chelsea. So I don't think Mourinho wants to just be a guy that rocks up and then leaves after 2 or 3 seasons. He's just seen that way. And I think if him and Levy have a good agreement, maybe he could start to build a little bit of a legacy for himself at Spurs. And how big would it be if he won a trophy there?
Do we see Gareth Bale coming back to Premier League? I mean, they've said that, I think Real Madrid have said to him, we're not letting you go, tough, sit there and rot sort of thing. And he's gone, fine, I want that much money. I'm in Madrid, feet up, sun out, have a game of golf and a couple of beers today. But
he nearly went to China, didn't he, last year? And then they called it off.
Could Man United afford him? Could Tottenham afford him?
Would you want to afford him? That's the problem. We haven't seen him play good football since the Champions League final. And that was, 3 seasons ago now? He's barely played for Madrid because Zidane, for some strange reason, hates him. And he hates Zidane. So there's no doubt that the guy could be a great player, but
it's a lot of money.
You could understand the whole Messi scenario of Man City wanted him because it's Messi.
But he's playing every game as well. So he's showing he showed last season. He's still got it.
But
he showed last season, whereas Bale, you don't.
I know a couple of Man City fans, and they've said we'd take Bale, and I've said what over Sterling, because they're both the same side out. They're both on left attacking. Would you take Sterling over Bale? I mean, it's a tricky one because Man City could afford him. We know that.
If it was a free, then I think there's a lot of clubs that opportunities there. But it's not a free, and he's got to be on 500 plus a week. He's got to be. There's no way he's not at Real Madrid, and he was a star when they signed him.
I wonder what he's on.
Why? What?
I think it was about 650 grand. I think, if I remember rightly.
Why would you want him? That would be my issue.
Well, what is it? He's 30-year-old, 31, something like that as well. He's not quite at the level of Messi and Ronaldo, is he? For
600,000 a week he gets.
Yeah, 600,000.
And that's till year 2022. So
he's got another 2 years on his deal then. So he's either going to be there till he's like 33 and not playing.
Also, almost 110 million without bonuses and 18.2 million a year on that 6-year deal. Ridiculous money.
Yeah.
And for him to just start at home.
Real Madrid's standpoint, because they didn't let him go to China.
And they could have done.
And he's not going to play.
I know.
He's paying it for the fun of it, aren't you, really?
They're like doing an arsehole with yours, aren't they, really, at the minute?
I saw a stat the other day that he's the 4th highest paid golfer in the world at the moment. Because all he's doing is playing golf. So technically, all these people are like, well, he's the 4th highest paid golfer in the world above so now he's playing more golf than what he is football.
What else can he do if he's not playing?
It is a sad state of affairs, and unfortunately, we see this in football sometimes now. And you've seen a player that really, at this stage, should be being just applauded about, and us all talking about how great he is and how he's performing at the peak of his powers. And unfortunately, we're talking about him being the highest paid golfer and not being a world class player like he was supposed
It's
to.
It's a massive talent wasted.
We touched on it
unfortunately by Real Madrid.
We touched on this the other week that, maybe Barcelona don't have the money they used to do. Maybe Real Madrid don't have the money they used to do. Messi looks like he's going to stay at Barcelona for another year because they wanted 700. Yeah, they wanted 700 million for him to leave.
Barca
going to free.
Barca look embarrassing coming out of this.
I know, and then Gareth Bale, you paid him 600 grand a week. You could probably sell him for at least 50 million, I suppose, to somebody.
Maybe.
Yeah, 40, 50 million. Or you let him sit there, you pay money to go play golf on a Sunday. And
it's a strange business practice, isn't it?
Yeah, and you could get rid of those two players. You could say to Messi, I tell you what, Messi, you can go if somebody puts 150 million in. That's 150 million in your bank that you don't spend then on wages, on his wages. He goes to Man City, you bring 150 million pounds worth of players in, rebuild at Barca. Bale, get rid. You save money on wages, you get some money for a player, and you buy somebody else.
Barca are in big trouble.
I don't understand it. I think it's bad. The two biggest clubs in Spain haven't got a clue what they're doing and what kind of money they're losing, and then they're going to complain.
They've just upset the entire fan base.
Yeah.
Because Messi staying hasn't made people happy.
Mm.
Messi staying's pissed people off. Because Barca said to him, and have said on several occasions, if you ever want to leave because of what you've done for the club, we won't stand in your way. And what have they done?
Stood in his way.
Stood in his way with a year left. Stood in his way with a year left, and then he's going to go for nothing anywhere.
A statement here from Messi saying, I'm now staying because the president told me the only way I could leave was by paying £700 million for the release clause.
He did a full interview. I watched it. It was brilliant because he was honest the entire way through, and all it did was make Barcelona look like dicks.
It's balmy, absolutely balmy. If you're the president, you think to yourself, well, I'll tell you what, 150, 200 million, come and bid for him. Have a bid
They wouldn't get that, though. They wouldn't get that because you've got Messi who wants to leave, and he's got a year on his contract. So no one in their right mind, knowing what you've got to pay him a week, are going to pay big money for him. You'd have been lucky to get 50 for him. People were intrigued because he was going to be free. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he's aging, and he leaves scot-free at the end of the year. That's it. Contract up. And he wants to go, so why would you ever pay big money? Barca would have done better by saying, we'll let you go.
Yeah.
Because it keeps the fan base on board with the promises they've made. They're going to have a new president next year. They need to rebuild anyway. They're they're up shit creek. They need to rebuild anyway. I know it seems crazy to say, let Messi go for nothing, but he's going for nothing, and you're not going to win out this year.
And you're saving £2 million or whatever it is.
Yeah, he's not going to win out this year. You're not going to win out. You're not going to have a good year. If you're Barcelona, you're not in for a cracking year this year, and I'd be worried as a fan. So you're in for a year now of just discontent because you've upset the fan base now, as well as a player who is your talisman's upset being there. He's going to leave now in a shitty way, which I'm sure he never wanted and the fans never wanted because he's a god there. And it's all come about in a presidency where they hate him. And this is terrible for Barca. This is really, really bad for Barca. They do not come out of this smelling like roses. It's going to be a rough old time, I think, in Barcelona.
100%. Right, okay, guys, thank you very much for watching. Let us know your thoughts on all the subjects that we've discussed today. And obviously, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below, as well. And obviously, check out the socials that will be on the screen and in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Today with me, it's been Dazman and the Yorker Man. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.